Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jenny.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How's your weekend? Fantastic. Long weekend, right? I saw you, Jollof. I know. The legendary Owambe Master. That's what I'll be calling you right now. Good morning, our favorite Nigeria wife. And happy birthday to your son.
Thank you so much.
Lovely
Thank you for the gift.
Well done.
We have not seen the implications.
Good morning, Ruby on fire.
It's coming. Just
how are you this morning?
Hello, for Kambale. Hello, for Kambale.
Well done. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers.
Let me talk. You
were
looking wonderful at my mother's book.
Yes, we were there together. Thank you. I don't know. I had to represent. Always representing.
Yes.
You know, fashion is my number one thing. Well, all right. Well done. Play too much. Okay, can we say Ruby on fire. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. Over the weekend, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu traveled to St Lucia for a state visit and to kick off a two-nation diplomatic tour of the Caribbean and South America. Tinubu was welcomed with full military honors by St Lucia's Governor General Cyril Charles and the country's Prime Minister, Philippe Pierre. Let's take a look.
Royal salute! Freeze aid! Now! Let's go. Royal salute! Freeze aid! Now!
Military salute with our national anthem. I mean, the president was well received, but you know, there have been comments online. I'll take a comment from Labour Party leader who has strongly criticized the president's trip to St Lucia, calling it ill-timed and insensitive, given Nigeria's severe socio-economic challenges. Peter Obi's tweet reads in part. He wrote, in the past 2 years, Nigeria has lost more people to all sorts of criminality than a country that is officially at war. Nigerians are hungrier, and most people do not know where their next meal will come from. With such a gory picture of one's country, you can imagine my bewilderment when I saw a news release from the presidency announcing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is departing Nigeria today for a visit to St. Lucia in the Caribbean. This is a president going for leisure when he couldn't visit Niger State, where over 200 lives were lost and over 700 persons still living in a flood natural disaster. I wonder which type of incident will happen before a president is attracted to show fiscal sympathy to the distressed citizens. He went on to commend the president for visiting Benue. He further wrote, I don't think the situation in this country today calls for leisure for anybody in a position of authority, more so the president, on whose desk the buck stops. This regime has repeatedly shown its insensitivity and lack of passion for the populace, going by the way it prioritizes the rich and shows indifference to the poor. In the meantime, the presidency has defended Tinubu's trip as a strategic diplomatic engagement aimed at deepening Nigeria's ties with Caribbean nations and fostering South-South cooperation rather than a leisure excursion. In a statement released by Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, the visit aims to rekindle ancestral bonds and open new diplomatic, cultural and economic avenues, given the significant population of Nigerian descent and shared historical ties. He also described the visit as a rare historic diplomatic event, with Nigeria being one of fewer than 10 state visits that St. Lucia has hosted since its independence, and the first by an African head of state since Nelson Mandela in 1998. Well, Peter Obi continues to maintain that this trip is inappropriate, and he still maintains that, you know, it's a leisure trip, given what the country is facing at this moment. Dr. Bati, your thoughts?
Well, I disagree with Mr. Peter Obi. I don't think it's a leisure trip. I've always argued on this table that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or anybody who is President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, is the #1 public relations officer of Nigeria. He's the chief foreign affairs policy person for Nigeria. And if President Tinubu, as the chief foreign affairs policy person, is reaching out to the South-South, the global South-South, and going to the Caribbean and South America, I think that the point by Mr. Ononuga about how we have shared historic, cultural affinity with St. Lucia and other countries in the Caribbean, I think that the points are well made. After all, Sir Danley Alexander, who succeeded Sir Teslim Olawale Elias, as Chief Justice of the Federation, 1975 to 79, came from this same St. Lucia. Now, Sir Danley Alexander's son, Michael, also fought in the Nigerian Civil War. In other words, even at the personal level, there is that connection. So if President Tinubu is saying he's reaching out to the Caribbean and to, you know, that part of the world, I think it's in order. I recall that when President Jonathan was in office, he also reached out, you know, to that part of the world. We were in Trinidad and Tobago, we were in another country, and on those occasions, President Jonathan addressed joint session of parliament in those, you know, Caribbean countries where they still have a parliamentary system of government. And President Tinubu is also going to address a joint sitting of the Parliament of St. Lucia, which I think is a honorable thing to do. I do not see any objections here. You know, even if it is at the cultural level, there's something called, you know, cultural diplomacy, you know, reaching out to Africans in diaspora, people who were taken away. In fact, some of the people in St. Lucia, they trace their ancestry to this country, Nigeria. So in the spirit of fraternity, brotherhood, cultural diplomacy, I think that the trip is in order. So what we don't expect is that it's not a trip that is going to take forever now. So Caribbean, South America. So I disagree absolutely with Mr. Peter Obi on this one.
Okay. You see, we can talk about cultural significance and other things between Nigeria and St. Lucia. We can even talk about the history of the Caribbean, talk about Jamaica, where there's a place called, you know, Calabar, stretch it up to Brazil, Bahia, the Yoruba extraction and all of that. But what Peter Obi is saying is apt. I think he has a strong point. Niger States, flood. Oji, let me paint a picture for you this morning. Days after the flooding, decaying bodies were taken off the streets in Niger State, in Mokwa, decaying bodies. The president did not visit the place. In fact, even Benue, we had to shout until the president finally decided, and they made a jamboree out of it. I mean, we're there, we're talking about the jamboree now. We talked about what transpired.
Yeah, with students waving.
So what he's saying invariably is that there's a time that the president sits and gets things done. You know, Nigerians like to have this false equivalence between presidents. Sometimes when it suits them, they will say, oh, there's flood in Nigeria, there's flood in America too. Compare with other presidents. Is this how they are always out every time? When the pertinent issues happen in there, they are not there. So President Tinubu has gone at the expense of taxpayers' money to go to St. Lucia, a country with less than 180,000 people, a country that is not even up to Ajay population. He has gone with taxpayers' money. He's going to address a parliament of a country that is not up to Ajay in population. I mean,
Yeah, this
what we are just saying, we are not saying don't travel.
Yeah.
We are not saying you can't go and do cultural ties. What we are saying
the
is...
VP went to Niger State.
Dr. Abati, what we are saying is...
The VP went there.
Dr. Abati, with due respect, is the VP we voted for.
No, but the VP went there to represent the president.
Can't you see that is the VP we voted for? But you see, when you say things like that, Dr. Abati, but when it's politics time, the president will go to Niger and campaign. But when it's distress time, he can't go to Niger and feel empathy with the
I guess
people.
what we're saying is there's a time for everything.
There's a time for everything. And that's what Peter Obi was saying.
Go ahead.
So, you know, I always like to say two things can be true at the same time. So I
yeah.
think both things have merit. On the St. Lucia side, so last year St. Lucia was elected to the presidency of the executive board of UNESCO. And one of the people who led that campaign, that successful campaign, was Gilbert Chaguri, who the president has referred to as his as a development partner, not just him, to Nigeria. So a part of me feels like, well, is it possible that the trip to St. Lucia has something to do with Nigeria campaigning for a more visible role with UNESCO, deepening, you know, cultural exchanges and so forth, of which we stand to benefit from? There's a lot of visibility, partnerships and so forth that would come from, you know, deepening our ties with organizations such as UNESCO, especially because we know how much our cultural achievements have put us on the map globally. On the other part, I think it's also fair for Peter Obi and Nigerians to say that we'd like to see more of the president in different parts of Nigeria.
Yes.
I think both things can be true.
Yes.
Let's see you. Remember when he went to Benue State, there was the issue of the road. He couldn't actually get to Mokwa because the road was bad and so forth. So I think people are saying if you spend more time in different parts of Nigeria, you'd actually get a more realistic sense of the situation on the ground.
Especially with the heightened insecurity, just only recently with, you know, the death toll in Benue and Borno and all those northern states. Well, we'll move on now to another story. Suspended Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara has addressed his supporters after a reconciliation meeting with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, facilitated by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying no sacrifice is too big for peace and stability in Rivers State. While speaking in Port Harcourt, the state capital, after the funeral of Wike's uncle, Fubara acknowledged the heavy and bitter nature of the peace deal, which reportedly includes conditions such as not seeking re-election in 2027 and permitting Wike to nominate local government chairpersons. Fubara urged his supporters to accept the agreement, emphasizing that the overall interest of the state and its development necessitates an end to the prolonged political crisis. Let's take a listen before we come back for a discussion.
At this point, if you want to be truthful to yourself, not lying to yourself, the only solution is peace. I didn't say that there is no price that is too big to pay for peace. I meant it, and I am still ready to follow it to the end. Nobody can take away the role my Oga played. That's the truth. Yeah, we might have our differences that led to this, but nobody here will say he doesn't know the role the man played. Nobody will say he doesn't. Nobody can whisk away the risks he took. Yes, at the point we had our differences, and if today there is need for us to settle, please, anyone who genuinely believe in me should understand that it is right thing to do.
All right, it appears there's full reconciliation here. He's even acknowledging the role his godfather played, because that's what he is at this point. And he's saying that there is no price too big to pay for peace. I'd like to take this tweet, which I actually liked. It was a post on X, and this person detailed a number of points, and I just took a little bit of it from characteristics. He wrote, the reconciliation of Fubara and Wike, a lesson in politics, power and forgiveness. It was a political standoff that exposed the fragile dynamics of godfatherism, loyalty and independence in Nigeria's democracy. Yet, in the end, both men chose a path less traveled Reconciliation. This act of mending fences is not a sign of weakness, but one of maturity, and it carries deep lessons for the youth, for politicians, and indeed for every citizen. 1. The virtue of forgiveness and reconciliation. In a nation often fueled by bitterness and prolonged enmity, this reconciliation speaks volumes. It underscores that true leadership lies not in perpetual confrontation, but in knowing when to lay down arms for the sake of peace. Forgiveness is not a political tool. It is a virtue we must all derive, practice, and preach. The courage to forgive even after public humiliation or betrayal is rare in politics, yet both men showed that reconciliation, though costly to pride, is priceless in value. 3. Strategy in defeat, grace in victory. Politics is a game of chess, not boxing. You don't win by sheer force, you win by foresight. The reconciliation revealed that both men understood the moment. Fubara, in retreating, showed the humility of a man not defeated by recalculating. Wike, in embracing, demonstrated the wisdom of consolidating influence through grace, not control. To fight, one must be sure of victory. But wiser still is the one who knows when to yield ground to win the war of legacy, peace, and prosperity. Finally, the moral takeaway. Young Nigerians must take note. Politics is not war, it is service. There will be betrayals, losses, and moments of solitude. But humility, forgiveness, strategic wisdom, and integrity remain the true currencies of enduring leadership. This episode has shown that even the fiercest political battles can end in peace, and that in politics, the man who can forgive is often the one who will outlive the storms. Let this serve as a compass for a more mature democratic culture where differences are settled with wisdom, where victory is won with grace, and where defeat is accepted with humility. Because at the end of the day, power is transient, but character endures. Politics is a game of chess. Play to win, but more importantly, play to build. I think he summarized a lot of points there. Oyibokpo. But I mean, I really did admire the tweet. And you disagree with the tweet, which is why, it's good for public discourse.
I disagree with the tweet in entirety because the tweet does not even know the background story.
Go ahead.
Until we see the terms and agreements, there are many different types of deal. There's coming into agreements from a place of strength, and there's a mumu deal. The mumu deal is when you are being subjugated, you are being battered and beaten, and you are forced to sign a mumu deal. So we don't know what Fubara signed. Maybe it's mumu deal or introspection and coming into agreements. We don't know. Secondly, you are talking about character and morale. What is character in having a godfather? What's character in that? That the will of a people, one man says, I'm the one that makes a governor, where there are people, where it is the people that vote. You can see the complete disrespect for the electorate, and that's why they don't come out for elections. So what is character in that? What is character when one man says, l'état c'est moi, l'économie c'est moi. I should be the one ruling the resource of the people, and whoever I put there is there. What's the character in that?
So your own is fight to finish.
No, see, let me tell you something. The truth has to be said. Me, I don't have time for igberigbe and mess.
What does that mean?
Igberigbe is rubbish and stupidity. See, let's call a spade a spade. The only reason why Fubara backed down was because the court judgment didn't favor him, which a lot of people have also made arguments as regards the court judgments. IJAP the other day made their reservations as regards court judgments in this country. So let's call a spade a spade. That's the reason why after that judgment. But somebody will have thought that honor demands that if you are right on your points, the worst thing they will have done is allow himself to be impeached, and that's not the end of the world. But they said, they saved him. They now committed another constitutional aberration by bringing in a state of emergency to solve. So, state of emergency. Do you know what state of emergency is? With the temerity of state of emergency. So, state of emergency is now even used to settle political scores in this country. And we are looking. What What kind of country are we living in? And somebody is writing theatres and saying moral, values. What are moral?
I love the points. Dr. Vati, go ahead.
Okay, in my early life, I used to be a university teacher, and I used to teach a course called Shakespeare and His Contemporaries, English 457, they call it, at Ogun State University, as it then was. Now, one of the scripts we taught was a play called She Stoops to Conquer by Oliver Goldsmith.
One of my favorites.
Now, what's the major moral of that play by Oliver Goldsmith? It is that, look, you can stoop to conquer. And I think that in this particular case, what Sim Fubara has done is a classic definition of stooping to conquer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what the nature of that conquest would turn out to be, we do not know. However, what we know is that we've been arguing on this table that we need peace, stability, growth, progress in Rivers State.
Yeah.
If the conquest here would progress democratic policy, the democratic dispensation, remove the state of emergency in Rivers State, I think it's something that we can say fine. And that's why it seems to me that Sim Fubara says, well, it's difficult, but it is necessary.
Yes.
And I hope that all the people who have been supporting him, the elders who have suddenly disappeared, and the youth council that we no longer see, we would like to hear from them too. Although some of them have said, look, let peace reign.
Yep.
It's important that peace reigns in Rivers State, that democracy survives in Rivers State.
All right.
Now, the other time you brought this subject up, I said it's an illustration of how Nigerian politics is paternalistic. It had to take President Tinubu putting his feet down for there to be this new development in Rivers State. We said that the politics of Rivers State characteristically is prebendal. It's a rentier system whereby you have a godfather who appoints clients and his clients have to suck up to him. That is why what has happened in Rivers State would seem to appear like a triumph for Nyesom Wike, who is the godfather, and Sim Fubara is his client, and there are probably other clients. 3, the terms of the reconciliation that has now brought together old foes, Amewule, the speaker, Fubara, the suspended governor, and also the godfather, self-styled, in Nyesom Wike, that has brought them together. They attended the burial of the uncle of Nyesom Wike at OjyOkpe. So even if you look at the optics, you know, Wike has every reason to be triumphant. Yeah. He, as the godfather, has survived the battle. However, should that be the pattern for Nigerian politics? We do not think so. Right. But the intervention of President Tinubu in this matter, how soon would that suspension that those who know this subject have said is illegal and unconstitutional, and then what comes after? Yes, whatever comes after, we will be here to do the analysis. As always. And we will speak our mind.
Yes, as always. Nobody can guide you. All right. Well, you know,
who said
FCT,
that?
You did. Hold on, doctor. We have to move. We have to speak. All right. Well, you know, the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, put on quite a show with his new dance moves at the 60th birthday celebration of PDP National Secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu. Let's take a look.
I see the sweet us, he go to paint them. I see the paint them, oh yes. I see the sweet us, he go to paint them. I see the paint them, oh yes.
That's the crack of our viewers.
Happy 60th. He go to paint them.
I see the sweet us,
he go to paint them.
No, we just love. I mean, he is content personified.
I want to challenge you to a dance.
No, I don't. I like it.
Minister Nyesom Wike, I challenge you to a dance.
Correct.
Please, pick your time of choosing, we'll be there.
Well, I loved it. Well, what would we say? It was Senator Samuel Anyanwu's 60th birthday as well.
Madam.
Happy birthday to you. I mean, you go to sweet us.
I see the sweet us. You go to paint them.
Well, all right. Kudos,
Nigeria
City
na
Minister. Nyesom Wike, Nigeria na cruise. Well, all right. Let's take our story under milestones. Tributes have been pouring in for Alhaji Aminu Dantata, a prominent Nigerian business mogul and philanthropist who passed away on Saturday, June 28th, at the age of 94. Alhaji Aminu Dantata was a towering figure in Nigeria's private sector, known for expanding his family's business empire, Alhaji Dantata and Sons, into various sectors including construction, petroleum, finance, manufacturing, and real estate. He was born in Kano in 1931 into the renowned Dantata trading family. He inherited a legacy of entrepreneurial excellence pioneered by his father, Alhaji Dantata, one of West Africa's wealthiest merchants in the early 20th century. Dantata was also a key player in the establishment of Jais Bank, Nigeria's first non-interest banking institution. Beyond his business acumen, he was widely respected for his extensive philanthropic work, particularly through the Kano State Foundation, which supported education, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. Dantata held various public sector roles, including serving as Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade and Industry in Old Kano State, and was a member of the committee that drafted Nigeria's 1979 Constitution. Dantata died at a hospital in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. His passing has drawn widespread tributes from across Nigeria, including from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Kashim Shettima, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and serving governors, all who mourned his death as a significant national loss due to his immense contributions to Nigeria's economic growth, development, and philanthropy. Top government officials, led by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, will attend his funeral in Medina, Saudi Arabia, where he will be buried today next to his late wife, in accordance with his wishes. This was a great loss. I mean, it's also a celebration of life. The federal government delegation has arrived in Saudi Arabia to receive his remains ahead of the funeral in the Islamic holy city of Medina. The delegation is joined by members of the Nigerian Consulate General in Jeddah. We also know that Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State also led a delegation to the late Aminu Dantata's funeral today. What a legacy. What a great milestone. May his soul rest in peace. Arise News also sends our condolences to the family of Dantata. We'll take another milestone story now. Celebrating Reni Folawiyo, the founder of Alara, West Africa's first luxury lifestyle concept store, who turned 60 on Sunday. Reni Folawiyo was born in London to the late Chief Lateef Adegbite, former Attorney General of Nigeria and former Secretary General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. She began her career as a lawyer, but transitioned into an influential fashion entrepreneur and businesswoman. She created Alara to redefine luxury fashion and creativity for Nigerians, showcasing a curated mix of international and African designers. Beyond retail, Alara serves as a cultural hub encompassing art, design, and a Pan-African restaurant called Knock by Alara. Folawiyo's vision for Alara extends to celebrating and elevating African creativity. She actively supports African talent through initiatives like the Emerge Alara competition and the Alara Table for Young Designers. Her work with Alara has garnered international recognition, including her inclusion in the Business of Fashion's 500 list, which identifies key figures shaping the global fashion industry. She was also named one of the women making impact in Nigeria and across the world by This Day and Arise Media Group.
I thank the Arise team and Prince Nduka Obaigbana for giving me this honor. And I dedicate my honor to the dynamic, creative community that I serve, that I dedicated my life to. They have the power to change the course of our nation and that of the continent. I thank my dear husband, Tunde, who is here tonight, my children, my family, and my friends for the immense support that I've gotten the last 10 years. I appreciate you all. Thank you all and have a good evening.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
What an icon. This woman
Fantastic.
inspires me a lot. I mean, you know that recently Alara expanded its global reach with a pop-up at the Brooklyn Museum. We did cover that event. You know, I mean, she has been showcasing African designers across the globe.
It's
really
incredible what she has done,
Yes.
because it was a vision and a dream that most, especially African designers, South African designers, even East African, had aspired for this platform. And her influence has honestly transcended, has lifted up so many people's businesses and brands. David Tlale in
Yes.
South Africa, a number of them. And I love also the partnership she does with organizations like NBA, the National Basketball Association, where they've done various events around the continent. So just a true icon of Pan-Africanism
Yes.
and showing us what culture
It's
and
amazing.
fashion can really do
It's
to put us on the
amazing.
map.
And
Happy
also
birthday
a small
to her.
footnote.
Yes, go ahead.
For record purposes,
Yes.
she's from Ogun State. From Abeokuta.
All right, very good.
The daughter of the illustrious Dr. Lateef
Noala.
Adegbite. You see Ogun State.
Yes.
We always produce icons.
Okay, today, Ogun State, no, they carry last. Today, what can I
Congratulations.
say?
sir.
Congratulations.
And it looks like everybody
Yes.
is 60 this
Yes,
year.
I know, I love it. What a milestone, what a milestone. Happy birthday, Reni Folawiyo. We'll take our good news report now, highlighting Nigerian documentary filmmaker Joel Kachi Benson, who made history by winning an Emmy Award for the Disney original documentary, Madu. The film Madu tells an inspiring story of Anthony Madu, a young Nigerian ballet dancer who gained global attention after a video of him dancing barefoot in the rain went viral. Benson co-directed the documentary with the Oscar-nominated Matt Ogans. Madu chronicles Anthony's journey from his humble beginnings in Nigeria to receiving a scholarship at the prestigious Elmhurst Ballet School in the United Kingdom, exploring his triumphs and challenges. The documentary won in the Outstanding Arts and Culture Documentary category at the 2025 News and Documentary Emmy Awards in New York City. The achievement marks Benson as the first Nigerian to win an Emmy in this category. Benson dedicated the award to Nigeria and to every child with a dream, emphasizing the power of authentic African storytelling.
This is a great honor. Thanks to Disney and the entire team at Hunting Lane. This win is for Nigeria, really. Thank you. And we would like to dedicate this to Anthony Madu and every kid out there who has a dream. The world is watching and waiting to hear your story. Thank you.
This is a huge win for Nigeria, really history-making moment. I remember I did a little special documentary for
Yes, ma'am.
Anthony Madu here when the
see,
news
they're
broke.
part of everything
And you know,
great
we
too.
did, it was amazing.
see.
Right before he left Nigeria
Yes, now.
to the abroad.
Yes,
Yeah,
now.
and you know,
I
now
remember
he's
that he
filmed.
went all the way to
Yes,
Badagry.
spent 4 hours in traffic, yes, in Badagry.
Badagry.
We did the
Yes,
documentary,
yeah.
and because I knew it was a special story.
Superstar girl,
Really
superstar,
special story.
yeah,
Anthony
superstar.
Madu has been celebrated and he's done so well. Benson was also the first Nigerian to win the Venice Lion Award for virtual reality with Daughters of Chibok in 2019.
Benson is from Abia State.
He's from okay,
So let's celebrate the people of Abia State.
Yes, Abia. Today Abia, no, they carry last.
Abia State.
Abia Kwenu.
Abia Kwenu.
Well, all right. Kudos to Benson. And of course, Anthony Madu has really etched his story in the sands of history at this moment. Really fantastic. Congratulations. Anthony Madu, of course, Benson as well. Shall we take our final story under entertainment? The wedding of the richest man, one of the richest men in the world, Amazon
richest
founder,
man, yeah.
one of the richest men in the world, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez in Venice, Italy, topped the trends over the weekend. It was an incredibly extravagant multi-day event which cost an estimated $36 to over $50 million. The wedding was attended by over 200 high-profile guests, including celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, and the Kardashians. The wedding sparked protests in Venice, with some critics viewing it as a symbol of extreme wealth disparity and over-tourism. Around 90 private jets flew into Venice's airports for the multi-day event. A special highlight of the wedding day, which took place on Friday, June 27th, was a live performance by Matteo Bocelli, son of opera icon Andrea Bocelli, who performed a love ballad in tribute to the couple. The bride, Lauren Sanchez, wore a Dolce & Gabbana wedding gown that took over 900 hours to complete.
Wow.
Fall on me, ascoltami. Fall on me, abbracciami. Fall on me, finché vorrai.
Wow, what a ceremony. We did see this trending all over social media with, the idea that all of these rich people flew into Venice. And of course, the protest was there, which I don't really understand, because officials are saying this, we bring money for Venice. What was all this whole protest about? But kudos to them, one of the fourth richest man in the world, Bezos, and of course, the journalist, Lauren Sanchez, who's been making headlines. Congratulations to both of them. Well, I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.